Good evening, teacher. We are group number 3, and now we are going to present our exposition about topic 8 and 9. Our team is conformed by Arevalo Evelyn, Baraja Daniela, Victor Bacolima, and Alejandro Purga.
The global and national status of L1 and L2. In this case, the power and status of learners' native language, in this case the L1, and target language L2, significantly influences second language acquisition at both the global and national levels. So in this case, this status may be official, in this case is reflecting government policies, and in a cultural way is reflecting values, practices, and societal attitudes. The symbolic functions of the language. In this case, the language serves as a symbol of political identification and social cohesion. For example, in the United States, English is seen as the national language, and speaking it is often linked to the patriotism and national unity. Other example here is in Israel, the official use of Hebrew was crucial for national building and establishing national identity. Other part here is the practical and political functions. In this case, through the history, second languages have served political purposes in conquest and empire building. For example, when the Spanish arrived in South America, imposing Spanish was part of the conquest. And the last part here is economic and prestige motivations. The desire to learn on L2 often relates to the economic power and prestige of the society it represents. For instance, many people are motivated to learn Chinese because of China's growing economic influence. So, for the boundaries and identifies acculturation. Here we have other aspects. For example, the social and linguistic boundaries affect SLA. In this case, the linguistic boundaries help unify speakers of the same language community, exclude outsiders for internal communication. With the relevant factors, here we have the age, the gender, ethnicity, and the relationships between native and target language groups strongly influences in SLA. The other here is the acculturation. The acculturation occurs when someone crosses physical or social boundaries and must adapt to the culture, values, and behavioral patterns of the new community to participate fully. Here, the acculturation involves social motivation and the relationship between ethnic groups. Minority groups often need cultural and linguistic integration into the dominant society. Examples of influence here is the members of the dominant group might refuse to associate with minority communities, so they don't learn the minority language in that case. And the last one is the social distance effect. In this case, John Schumann in 1978 noted that target language groups might keep social distance from L2 learners.
Institutional influence, social identity, and adaptive language. In this slide, take about how institutions of society influence language. So, school and governments can support a living language used through their rules. Also, social category lives. Uh, Tendencies and class effects help people and creative base of the language they speak. Um, with both language one and language two are valued and with have adaptive language with positive forms of language learning where both language are used.
Circumstance unlearned. The slide explains how the conditions which have someone learn how language affects their progress. Learning can happen in informal context like the school or informally at home or the community. Motivation support from others and a positive environment are very important. The better this condition are, the easier it is the learning and second language social tools.
My name is Daniela Baraja, and first I'm going to talk about varieties of bilingualism. It has different types of bilingualism, just as there are multiple definitions of bilingualism. There are also different types. People are not equally bilingual, so researchers classify bilingualism based on factors such as age, language proficiency, and context of acquisition. One of the most common classification is individual bilingualism and social bilingualism. According to Rene and Peter, in their book Language Contact and Bilingualism, these are the two main types. They also explore the effects bilingualism has on both people and communities. Then we have individual bilingualism. The definition is a person's ability to learn and use a second language. And the main characteristics are code independence uses both languages without mixing, alternation can switch between languages easily, and translation can express the same idea in both languages. Then we have types of individual bilingualism. The first one is coordinate bilingualism, develops in early childhood. When each parent speaks a different language, the child builds two separate language systems. The second one is compound bilingualism. Also starts in childhood, but both parents speak both languages to the child. The child learns both without accent but may lack deep understanding of each language's nuances. And the third one is subordinate bilingualism, develops after the critical period, usually through immersion or formal education, and memory plays a key role here. And something to mention is that the learner's personal traits and the learning environment greatly influence second language acquisition performance. Social bilingualism. In here, bilingualism is shaped by social status and ethnic identity in multi ethnic societies. It has two types. The first one is additive bilingualism, when members of a dominant group learn a minority or subdominate language, their first language, L1, and ethnic identity remain intact. The second one is subtractive bilingualism, when members of a less privileged group learn the dominant language. This can lead to a loss of their native language skills and a weakening of their ethnic identity, especially in children. For example, indigenous speakers in contact with border communities may experience substantive bilingualism. Then we have forms of bilingualism in real life. Appeal and Miskin affirm that pure forms of bilingualism rarely exist in reality. Instead, mixed forms are far more common. They explain that the linguistic landscape in most countries is highly complex, often involving more than two language groups. Different mixtures are much more common. The linguistic situation of most countries is far more complex, with more than two groups and more than two language involved. Then we have historical roots of bilingualism. According to Sigwan and Maki said that it's hard to define exactly how bilingualism develops, but five historical factors contribute. The first one is expansion, then we have unification, then post colonial situations, immigration, and the last one is cosmopolitanism.
My name
Thank you.
is Evelyn Arevalo, and I am going to talk about the theories of bilingualism. These theories explain how two languages can interact in the brain and how the skills transfer between them, and also what cognitive effects result from that kind of interaction among different levels of language proficiency and development. So we have here four theories that are the first one is balance theory that suggests that our brain holds two separated language systems. They are like tanks, and their capacity is limited. So if one language can grow, the other might shrink, and this create a zero-sum situation where gaining fluency in a second language might harm the first. So there are recent studies that have challenged this view, and they have shown that both languages can grow together. So, going to the second theory, that is common underlying proficiency theory, we can say that both languages can rely in the same cognitive system. That means that the skills like reading or problem solving can transfer across languages. Instead of learning two languages separately, they support each other. For instance, improving vocabulary in Spanish can help with English writing. And this interaction helps bilinguals develop stronger abilities as both languages draw from a shared foundation. And the third one is threshold theory. It explains that a bilingual person needs to reach certain levels in both languages to benefit cognitively. If both are low, it might cause difficulties, but if only one is strong, there is no harm. Also, we know that when both reach a high level, bilingualism boosts thinking skills. So, language proficiency must cross specific thresholds to unlock cognitive advantages. And the final one is linguistic interdependence hypothesis. This hypothesis says that developing literacy in a language, in the first language, helps with the second. So there is cross linguistic influence, and that means that ideas and skills can transfer. For example, knowing how to summarize in our native language can help to do it in a second language, for example, in English. Uh, Also, the stronger your first language is, the better your second language become. That is because they share a conceptual base. So these theories are important in order to understand how our brain and the skills we have can interact in the learning process. Thank you so much.